"Here's to your lies, Daniel," she said, her eyes glistening with fury. "I hope you choke on your own secrets." For a second, everything froze, the music, the chatter, the clinking of champagne. Then she turned, storming away, her gown sweeping the floor like a furious flame. No one knew that the man she had just humiliated in front of an entire room of executives and investors was her husband. And no one, including her, knew that he was the silent owner of the very company signing her $800 million deal that night. Daniel Reed had always been a man who believed in quiet power. He didn't crave attention, cameras, or headlines. He preferred to build empires from the shadows. After years of betrayal in business and heartbreak at home, he'd learned one thing: people show their true selves when they think you're nobody. Tonight, he was at his own company's celebration dinner, but not as the CEO, not even as an investor. On paper, he was just Daniel, a guest consultant invited to witness a major deal. The new contract would transform his firm's future, and ironically, the person signing it on behalf of her startup was his estranged wife, Elena Carter Reed. They had been separated for nearly a year. Too many arguments, too much pride, and too little trust. She was a rising businesswoman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper ambition. He was the man who had once loved her more than life itself but had stepped back when love turned into war. She didn't know he had rebuilt himself from the ashes. She didn't know that the mysterious Crown Holdings, the global firm offering her the $800 million partnership, was his creation that he had hidden behind legal names and silent boards for months. Not to trap her, but to see her honestly, stripped of status, ego, and the idea of what she thought power meant. That he wanted to know if she'd changed. Or if she'd still pour wine on the man she thought was beneath her. Hours earlier, the night had begun beautifully. Elena walked into the ballroom wearing a crimson gown that made everyone turn their heads. She carried herself like she owned the world, and in some ways, she did. Her tech company was about to break into the international market, and tonight's deal would make her a legend. Daniel stood across the room, quietly observing. He looked nothing like the man she once married. Gone was the soft-spoken dreamer who spent late nights sketching designs and whispering promises. Now he looked like someone out of a magazine: black suit, trimmed beard, unreadable eyes. She didn't recognize him at first when he came over to introduce himself. "Ms. Carter, it's an honor," he said politely, shaking her hand. "Likewise," she replied, a little distracted. "You're Daniel." "Just Daniel." She nodded, smiling politely, the kind of smile that ended at the lips, not the eyes. As the evening went on, he watched her laugh, toast, and command the room with effortless grace. And yet, beneath all that confidence, he saw the same woman he had fallen in love with, the same fire, the same fear of being small. He almost admired her, until fate decided to twist the night into something no one could have scripted. The moment came when the chief negotiator from Crown Holdings stood to finalize the deal. The crowd quieted, the press readied their cameras, and Elena lifted her glass for a celebratory toast. "To new beginnings," she said proudly. "And to partners who know the meaning of loyalty and trust." Her words stung like a blade. Daniel felt his stomach twist, but he stayed silent. Until one of the reporters whispered too loudly near the stage, "Isn't that the same Daniel Reed she was married to? The one she left when his company failed?" Elena froze for a heartbeat. Her gaze shifted, really looking at him for the first time. The recognition hit her like thunder. "Daniel." He gave a small, calm nod. "Hello, Elena." Her heart pounded. "What are you doing here?" "I work with the company handling your deal," he said quietly. The room buzzed with whispers. She laughed bitterly. "Of course. Just couldn't stay out of my spotlight, could you?" He stayed composed, his voice steady. "I'm only here to witness a great partnership. Nothing more." But that calm only enraged her further. The humiliation of their past, the gossip, the pain, it all boiled over. "Witness," she snapped, grabbing a glass of red wine. "Then here, witness this." The glass flew. The liquid splashed across his face, his shirt, dripping onto the floor. Gasps echoed. Cameras flashed, and through it all, Daniel didn't move. He simply wiped his face and said, softly, "Still the same, Elena." Then he turned and walked away. The deal was signed minutes later, but the celebration had turned awkward and cold. Elena left early, furious at herself, embarrassed, and strangely hurt. She didn't understand why seeing him again had shattered her. The next morning, her assistant burst into her office, pale and shaking. "You need to see this," she said, placing a tablet on her desk. Elena pressed play. It was a video clip from the news. Mystery CEO of Crown Holdings revealed. And there he was. Daniel Reed. Her husband. The man she had just poured wine on. The man who owned the company that had just signed her $800 million deal. The world now knew. But she only saw one thing, the look in his eyes when he'd said, "Still the same, Elena." She felt sick. 3 hours later, she was standing in front of his office, the top floor of the Crown Tower, overlooking the entire city. Her heels clicked nervously as she entered. He looked up from behind his desk, calm as ever. "Ms. Carter," he said. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" She swallowed hard. "Don't do this." He raised an eyebrow. "Do what?" "Humiliate me. Take revenge." He sighed, leaning back. "Is that what you think this is? I poured wine on you, Daniel. In front of everyone. And now the entire world knows you're the CEO of Crown. You could destroy me if you wanted to." He stood, walking to the window. "Elena, if I wanted to destroy you, I'd have done it long ago. I didn't hide my ownership to trap you. I just wanted to see you as you are, not the woman who left me, but the woman I fell in love with. I needed to know if she still existed." Her voice broke. "And your answer?" He turned, meeting her eyes. "She's still there. Just buried under pride." Tears filled her eyes. "I thought you hated me." "I never hated you," he said softly. "I hated that I couldn't be the man you needed when everything fell apart. But I rebuilt myself, not to prove you wrong, to prove to myself that I could rise again." She took a shaky breath. "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Because if I had, you would have treated me differently. You would have smiled out of obligation. I needed the truth, and last night, I got it." She wiped her eyes, whispering, "I'm sorry." He stepped closer. "Elena, the deal still stands. Crown Holdings will support your company, as promised. You've earned it, not because you're my wife, but because you're brilliant. I'll never take that from you." She looked at him, stunned by his calm strength. "After everything I said? After what I did?" He smiled sadly. "Everyone deserves one second chance. Even us." Weeks passed. Their partnership became the talk of the industry, two once broken people leading rival companies now bound by trust again. One evening, after a long board meeting, Elena found herself standing on the same balcony where they had once dreamed of building something together. He joined her quietly. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked softly. "Miss what?" "The way we were, before money, before pride." He smiled faintly. "Every day. But maybe, we needed to break to understand how to build again." She turned to him. "Do you think we could start over?" He didn't answer with words, just held out his hand, and for the first time in a long time, she took it. The next morning, a new headline appeared across business networks: "Power Couple Reunites, Crown Holdings and Eternitech launch $1.2 billion joint vision project." But for Daniel and Elena, it wasn't about the numbers anymore. It was about forgiveness. About two people who learned that love, like business, sometimes collapses, not to end, but to rebuild stronger than before.